Listen now to the word of the Lord. The reading's taken from the Song of Songs, chapter 2, starting at verse 8. Springtime Rhapsody. The voice of my beloved, look, he comes, leaping upon the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing at the windows through the lattice. My beloved speaks to you. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. For now the winter is past, the rain is over and gone, but not last night. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come. The voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree puts forth his figs, and the vines are in blossom. They give forth fragrance. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Thank you for reading. Welcome again to our service. So we're continuing through the Song of Songs, and the Song of Songs is all about our longing to connect with God and God's longing to connect with us. Put another way, it's about union between us and God, communion between us and God. But this morning I have a confession for you. If you know me pretty well, this might not be a surprise to you, but it's about a relationship I have with a 40-year-old. In fact, they were at our wedding, and barely a day goes past when I do not long for them. Serious. Dream of them. Maybe even fantasize about them. I'm talking, of course, about Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. 40 years old this year. And we really did have it at our wedding. I have what I think is a reasonable, but maybe slightly obsessional longing for the look and the feel and the taste of this ice cream. And I confess this to you this morning because last week was all about longing. And seriously, I do. Whenever I think of Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, I have that sense of longing. I long to go to Tesco's and go to the ice cream aisle and find it in the cabinet and take it out with my hand and carry it home with me and do what is right to be done with a tub of Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. It is the thing that I long for. Not the main thing that I long for, but it is something that I long for deeply. And the Song of Songs is all about this longing, this passionate, heartfelt longing that we can have. If last week was about that, then this week is about our beloved is coming. It is as if we now have it presented to us. Imagine this morning that there is an ice cream, there is an ice cream van turning up to give to all of us whatever flavour you may long for. What flavours of ice cream do you long for? Anybody have any particular flavours you long for? They could be Ben & Jerry's or other brands. Anybody?
Salted caramel.
Salted caramel? Yes? Chocolate? Chocolate, always good. Belgian chocolate, I think, particularly good. Anybody else? No? Strawberry? It's not the best. Sorry? Strawberry? No, I don't think it's the best. Well, our longing. Well, imagine that this morning this is about the thing we long for is here. It is coming towards us. So all our dreams, all our fantasies are going to be fulfilled. It is just there. Look, he's saying, I'd love you to have some of my ice cream. Please come and get however many scoops you want. The Song of Songs is a book where we get two things in one. I talked about this last week. You get a glimpse of the beauty of human relationships, our relationships with each other. And you also get a picture of the intimacy and closeness and passion that we can have with God. Two in one. Every time you read these passages, see both of those hand in hand. And this longing that we have for people, for intimacy with people and for God, is the same as you felt when you saw the one you loved. And some that might be a recent thing, maybe even this week. Some maybe a little bit longer ago. I became engaged to my wife Hannah 22 years ago. And at the time I was a student up in Edinburgh and she was a nurse in East London. So we'd have to arrange times when she would come and visit me or I would come and visit her. And I remember waiting at the train station, Waverley train station in Edinburgh, waiting for her train to come, looking up at the arrivals board, the time that it was going to pull in, the train from King's Cross, and when she was going to be there. And then, some of you must have done this, and then looking up as it comes in and the doors open, looking up and down the platform, where is she? Where is my beloved? And there she was. And that sense, has anybody had that sense of excitement and longing? Please tell me. It's not just me. Thank you, yes. And, is that, and there she's here. And because she's a very nice person, she'd often give me a gift, but that wasn't the point of why I was pleased to see her. She was here at last. My beloved was here. All that I'd longed for was here. And that's what we have, I hope, with God and with others. I hope we see it with God when we see that God is working and we long for him more. We see our dreams are being realised. Often I see this, sometimes on Alpha, which we're running in a few weeks' time. I pray with people, and people find peace and hope, which they haven't had before. And I'm feeling Christ is here. What we have longed for, what they have longed for, is here at last. Or maybe I'm praying with somebody for healing, and then they come back a few weeks later, and I say, how was your back? And they say, actually, it got better after we prayed. And I have that sense, Christ is here. All we have longed for is here. Our dreams have been answered. So the pictures today that we're going to, as we're looking at, what have I called this? Next slide. Arise, my love. There's this idea of we get up because he is coming. And there are a couple of pictures that this passage uses of Christ. The first image is of a triumphant gazelle or an energetic stag. My beloved is like a young stag. The writer wants us to see God as not a kind of weak and weedy, insipid niceness, but as a strong and powerful God who's marching over the hills, coming to find us. People sometimes say that being a Christian, being like Christ, is not being strong. Because Christ says, lay down your life for others. Care for others, put others before yourself. But I don't see that. I don't see that he's weak. I love this image. This is the Christ who raises the dead. He goes to the tomb of Lazarus when it is smelly and offensive, and he dares to open it and say, come out. That is courageous. That is bold. He confronts demons, and he is not afraid. He is weak. He's not weak. He is strong. He is bounding towards us. No one can defeat him. And the passage, it says, is like he's coming to us. Imagine it's another image then of our beloved is coming. And outside, imagine we live in a compound and we have walls around outside our house. And he's standing at the wall looking for us, longing for us, looking towards us. That picture of Christ in you. He looks for you. And I wonder how you feel about that. If he's bounding towards you, I think some of us are thinking, oh my goodness, what does that mean? Do I need to be afraid that God is here hunting for me? He's looking for me. Does he know what I'm up to? But we should not be afraid. We should have the expectation of our beloved coming to us, who only has good things for us. God, when he comes to us, is only good, even though, if we're wise, we might be a little bit nervous of that encounter. For the winter is past. The rain is over and gone, which it is this morning, I think. The winter is past, another image that we have. Imagine that you're somewhere where you begin to see the crocuses poking through the snow. I love it in that time in spring when we have loads of crocuses come up in our garden. And the trees aren't really still ready and all the other flowers are looking a little bit sad. But those beautiful signs of life and colour. And we know that there will be no more winter anymore at that point. The winter is past. The idea of God coming to us is that he's saying that what is bad is going. Christ's birth signals the end of winter. That's Christmas. The celebration that the darkness of the past is heading away. His Spirit at work among us, when we have guidance and comfort and healing, says, winter is over. The darkness is past. When God speaks to you through his word, and you know him, that says, winter is over, and the darkness is past. It's not saying, this passage isn't saying that life is not hard anymore. I used to think that some people suffered horribly and that others had a relatively easy life. And that's not my experience, I think I'd say anymore. I think I'd say that all of us suffer. And some suffer more than is even slightly reasonable. All of us suffer. All have known the coldness, the darkness of winter in our lives. Some of you, that's where you are today. You'd say, actually, I'm in the middle of winter. Some of you, the winter might have been a long time ago, decades ago, but it's still strong in your memory, as Gail was talking about as she prayed. I often talk about it, but 5.5 years ago, I sat with a mother and father beside the body of their young daughter. And that was the start, or the sign of the deepest, darkest winter I have known. A few weeks later, I sat alone with the mother as she mourned her husband, who had felt unable to live with the magnitude of his daughter's suffering and death. I remember not being able to sleep that night or for many nights to come. I remember coming in to see Hannah and just tears rolling down my cheeks. That sadness is still here today. That dark night of winter. And some of you, that is where you are, with a great sadness. But this Song of Songs, it doesn't try and say, oh, winter's going to come slowly for you. It's saying winter is over with Christ. You might be waiting for every tear to be wiped away, as it says in Revelations. For every tear to be wiped away. But this song wants us to know that hope is here. That Christ has defeated death and evil. That he's won. C.S. Lewis, I spoke about him last week. Charles Staples Lewis, possibly. The writer of the Chronicles of Narnia, many Christian books. He loved the Song of Songs. I said this last week. He loved this book. I wonder if it was because he saw so much suffering. Interestingly, one of the first things he saw, at the age of 4, his dog died. His favourite dog, called Jaxie, died. And from then on, he wanted to be called Jaxie. And people called him Jack for the rest of his life, from the age of 4 till 60-something. I imagine that marked him. Then at the age of 9, his mother died of cancer. He then went on to serve at the Somme in the First World War. His best friend died, and he looked after his mother for the rest of her life. He himself was wounded and suffered from deep depression for many years after that. Later in his life, as a committed Christian, he wrote many books wrestling with suffering and hope. And he told people that Christ had broken the back of death, even as we live this troubled life. I don't think that Jesus says, "Arise, my love, and come away," because we're meant to pretend that pain and suffering is not here, but because he wants us to be close to him now and for all eternity. And picture that. He's saying, come close to me now. The winter is over. He wants us to be with him rather than on our own. Some passages in the Bible lead us to do something, put something into action, don't they? To pray more, to give more, or to an act of service. But I think today, I want us to take from this passage, I think, that we need to receive from God. We need to picture that deer bounding over the hills. Our beloved, the lion who has conquered, and the lamb who was slain but not defeated. We need to know that he's coming for us, that we may know his grace here, that the winter is gone. As the last verses say, the flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come, the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land, the fig tree puts forth its figs, the vines are in blossom. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away.